Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of ScottiesTech.Info. I'm Scotty, here with my co-host Cletus. He says hi. Today's video is about a question that a friend of mine asked me. He has a workshop, and he has fluorescent tube light fixtures, not unlike this one, and the bulb started blinking. And so naturally he did what everyone does. He twisted the bulb, removed it, put a new bulb in, it was still blinking. So then he asked me what to do. And so I helped him with it. And then he said, you should write about that on your website. And I went, oh, that's a good idea. So, how do you fix a fluorescent tube light fixture like this when it's not working if just replacing the bulb doesn't work? Right. So, let us examine this guy. I'm not sure how I'm going to fit this here without totally destroying everything. So let's just take the cover off. Yeah, this is going to be a disaster. Excellent. Oh dear. I'll just throw that on the floor. So we pull the little cap off. We rotate, remove the tube. This is a 36 watt. That's upside down. Oh well, you're gonna have to read it upside down because I can't fit it the other way. 36 watts backwards. Okay, so you take the tube out, and you'll notice inside. Okay, this is gonna be tricky. The other thing to check is this guy. He is the starter. And to remove the starter, this one's a little difficult. You just kind of push in a little bit and rotate, and it should pop right out. If I could get my fingers in there, which I can't. There we go. You just pop that guy out. Now, if we look at this one, I wish I had a smaller light to use as an example, but I don't. So it just looks like a little trash can with two little feet. And this one actually, it says just Osram, and it's got some text on there, but it's kind of hard to read. This is what your basic starter looks like. And all it does is, for fluorescent tubes, they actually run via the ballast, which we'll look at in a minute. And the starter does exactly as its name implies. It helps the bulb to start. You don't really have to understand all the nitty-gritty technical details. If you want more detail on this stuff, there's plenty of videos on YouTube about teardowns and ballasts and electronic ballasts and circuit diagrams and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into all that because it's kind of technical and boring. So basically, if you replace the tube and it doesn't work, you replace this guy. Now usually, I buy this kind, just Phillips S10, and you'll notice here it says 4 to 65 watts. I live in Europe, so 230 volts, single bulb. So that means this starter is good for any fluorescent tube from 4 up to 65 watts. So it'll work with the 36 watt one we have in this fixture. It'll work with the super long 58 watt tubes, whatever. Yes. This is basically, well, it says it's an eco-click starter. There are many types of these starters, and there are eco-click, there's like super mega long life eco pro goldy greeny, like there's all kinds of different, there's ones that have like this little red dot up here, and it's all like, if you use this, it's going to like make your bulb start faster and last longer. I have tried every type of starter known to man. And in most cases, they work exactly the same as these standard GP ones. And in some cases, some of them do actually make the bulb start a little faster at the cost of bulb life. Your average fluorescent tube lasts about 10,000 hours. Which is 10 times longer than your average incandescent bulb, which they usually last about 1,000 hours. So Yeah, I've tried all the starters. Just go online. These you should be able to buy these for like 50 cents a piece, a buck. I usually buy them in bulk. And actually, every time I replace a fluorescent tube, I also replace the starter. Yeah, so there's the starter. Take it. Take your new one. This is not easy to do. This is a really painful light fixture, and you stick the little feetsies in. Yeah, that's hard to do. Whoever created this light fixture should probably be... Oh! It's in. You just turn it and it latches into place. Usually they're actually sticking out of the fixture a little bit like this, so you can actually remove the tube, and then it's very easy, because all you have to do is just go turn, push, put your new one in. This one they put sideways, so it's, yeah. That's it. You replace the starter, and Bob's your uncle, right? Except let's say that the light still doesn't work after you've replaced the tube and the starter. So then what do? Okay, then you want to look at... Now this is going to be very tricky. You want to replace... Oh dear, I'm going to knock my refreshing beverage over. You want to replace the starter. Rather the ballast, which is this guy. Now, okay, so this is a normal ballast. Again, you don't really have to understand what it does. Think of it as like a transformer. So this is a standard ballast, and you can replace one of these if you want to. You basically just look and see what... I mean, this is like, who knows this company? I've never even heard of them. You can buy these online. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on eBay, you can get them everywhere. For this type of standard ballast with the starter, I have never actually had to replace one of these before. They're very simple inside. They usually last like forever. So it's exceedingly rare, I found anyway, that you'll actually have to replace one of these standard ballasts. Usually the tube, the starter, and you're off and running. But there's another kind of ballast. If you open up your tube and you don't see the starter inside, all you see is one of... Oh, Jesus, everything's collapsing. Excellent. Got like fuzz everywhere. One of these. Okay. This is a Philips HF Performer electronic ballast. HFP 258 TLD. Now you'll notice it actually says here that this guy is actually for a 2 by 58 watt tube. That's because I have in my workshop I have a lot of double 58 watt fluorescent fixtures. Those are like the 58 watt ones are like the ones that are about this big around, and they're super long. And they put out a whole lot of light. So this electronic ballast is actually for 2 tubes. You can get electronic ballasts for 1 tube, yada yada. And you see over here, there's a little wiring diagram that shows you which wires go in which of these little pins over here. Now the deal with the electronic ballast is there's no starter, and you don't need a starter. This is essentially like the ballast in the other light fixture that we just looked at, except that there's extra electronics inside. You don't need a starter, and the main benefit is that you get instant on usually, because there's all kinds of fancy electronics in here that do magical stuff, so you don't need the starter. Plus you don't get the flickering, because it like works its magic and stuff, and it's all super awesome. Except that there's a little problem, which is that the electronic ballasts usually shorten the life of the tube. They more or less, they kind of give the tube a nice shock at the beginning that's different than if you have one of these starters in there and a normal ballast. With this guy, it kind of gives it a jolt, and that has the effect of starting it on the first try, so it's kind of like instant on, which people like, but it also shortens the life of your tube. So you'll find that, say, the end of your fluorescent tube, such as this one, the end of the tube here will start to turn, like here, will start to turn black a lot sooner. And when this starts to turn black, then you can be pretty sure that your your tube is dying, possibly your starter, or if it's an electronic ballast, replace the tube. If that doesn't do it, then replace this guy. Now, as with normal ballasts, you can actually buy these electronic ballasts also on Amazon. That's where I got this one. As I said, if you have an electronic ballast, it usually says right there, electronic ballast, so you know that's what it is. There's no starter, and all you have to do is basically mark these wires, disconnect them. You'll probably have to take the light fixture down. You buy the new ballast, you put it in, you connect the wires back up where they were, put your tubes back in, turn it on, you're done. Usually these are cheaper nowadays than buying the whole new fixture and new tubes. So you probably buy new tubes anyway, and then it still wouldn't work, and you go, oh crap, and then you could just buy one of these for a few bucks. You usually have to take the light fixture down because it's actually screwed in from behind in the actual metal housing, but that's not really that hard to do. So that's pretty much it. Oh, one more thing. With a standard ballast, you probably get the light will flicker. It won't turn on fully. The ends of the fluorescent tube might get kind of black. Maybe sometimes they glow orange, and usually it'll flash and flicker. And so you replace the starter, you replace the tube. Usually that'll do it. With the electronic ballasts, it's a bit different. You can have the flashing and the flickering and stuff, but you can also get a situation where basically the electronic ballast dies, and you turn the tube on and it doesn't flash, but you get kind of the ends of the tube glowing kind of strangely, and then these sort of like waves of light passing through the tube. That's a pretty good indicator that your electronic ballast has died. So obviously put new tubes in. If that doesn't do it, look inside, see what kind of ballast you have, possibly even find the model number. Go on Amazon, order a new one, pop that sucker in, you're done. You save some money. So I think that's it. Do you have anything to add, Cletus? That's a good question. Cletus wants to know, why should he fix his fluorescent tube? Why not just get LED tubes? Because they're the newfangled thing, right? Good question. I think I'll address that in my next video. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.